There's a crime and violence wave sweeping the West Midlands, but the police are too busy catching distracted drivers. It seems like we can't go a day without seeing the West Midlands police in the headlines, and if you sit down and actually look at what's going on in the West Midlands, it paints a really depressing picture, and that's what I wanted to talk about today, because just days ago, I'm sure you remember, we saw a triple stabbing in Birmingham city centre where officers were called just before 6 p.m. to reports of disorder, and originally around 100 youths, listen to me youths, I'm only 25, other fellow young people, 100 fellow young people were hanging around just before the attack, but then a 30-person brawl broke out, which there's videos of, shortly after, and 3 people were stabbed, suffering injuries, and were taken to hospital. And it was a major story, but the violence wasn't anything new. This is just commonplace in the West Midlands now. The police even had to make a house raid at 5 a.m. not too long ago where one man was shot by the police because of firearms offences. So the police believe, they had intelligence, that 4 men and 2 women had committed firearms offences. And they did recover and seize a firearm during that raid. And by the way, the triple stabbings that happened not far away from the Conservative Party conference that was going on in Birmingham at the time, it came less than 24 hours after a warning was issued about violence rising in the city. So the Birmingham Mail editor Mark Reeves told BBC Newsnight, "People are literally dying on the streets, 300 yards from here." So there's something serious going on here, isn't there? There's something very, very serious going on in Birmingham in the West Midlands, and the local police force have dealt with more than 2,000 knife crime incidents in just the first half of this year. That's a lot. But there's an issue, because the police aren't properly able to deal with crime. Now, West Midlands Police, in my opinion, is failing in its duty to protect people and to enforce the law. That's not an attack on the coppers on the street. We all know most of them are on our side. It's an attack on the whole system. It's an attack on the government who aren't keeping up with the requirements of modern police forces. They're simply not providing the resources they need. But it's also a failure of the top brass of the police. If they're unable to protect people, what are people to do? Not long ago, within 12 hours, not long ago in Birmingham, 1 woman died and 2 men left seriously injured in a stabbing and a drive-by shooting, which resulted in 4 separate investigations being launched within 12 hours. There's something seriously wrong here, and the police aren't able to keep up with it. Mass gangs are going around the city stealing cars, and because of this, the police forces are closing down certain operations just so they can deal with all this crime. With the stabbings, the shootings, the car theft, they have to reallocate the resources they have. One would hope in an efficient and effective way, but maybe not. Just to deal with this. So, for instance, the West Midlands Police have shut down 90% of home breaking cases. Only 9 in 10 of these cases in the West Midlands go completely unsolved. Of burglary I'm talking about, they simply don't have the resources or the time to focus on burglary because they're too busy taking down criminals who've stabbed people, shot people, or stolen cars. Or is there more to it? So let me get this straight. Violence is increasing in the West Midlands. Violent crime is on the way up. Shootings, stabbings, the lot, you name it, it's happening. Break-ins, car thefts even. And a mass brawl just broke out near the Conservative Party conference with 30 people, where 3 people got stabbed. And the police now are shutting down burglary cases just to keep up with this violent crime wave. One would assume that they simply don't have the resources to keep up. If they're not taking burglary seriously anymore, then surely they're redirecting those resources to the more important stuff, right? Well, in fact, it turns out that police officers aren't doing that at all. They're actually sitting on buses, travelling around the city, looking through the windows to catch drivers who are using their phone while they're sat at the traffic lights. That's not a joke. That is literally what they're doing. Police officers are sat on buses, travelling around the city, peeping at people through the window, and that's apparently a better way to allocate resources than going to homes who have suffered burglary and trying to solve those crimes. So while people are getting killed, homes burgled, property stolen, the people of Birmingham and the West Midlands can rest assured that the West Midlands Police, are doing their very best job, sat on their bums on the top deck of a bus looking out the window.
If you want to see more from me and the rest of the Rebel team, remember to like and subscribe.